Hi friends, I'm Walker and welcome back to All About Nails, where we talk about vegan and cruelty-free nail polish. Today we're going to be talking about these gorgeous colors. These 6 shades make up the new Spring 2019 collection from Zoya. This is the Innocence collection. And if you saw my live swatch and review, then you've already seen how these polishes apply. I am wearing Fern on my nails right now, so you can see it in action. And today we're going to dive in and do some color comparisons of these polishes. If you haven't seen one of my color comparison videos before, I am basically going to just pull out the swatch sticks of some other polishes that are similar to these shades, and we'll look at them up close and talk about similarities and differences. The goal of these videos is to help you figure out if these polishes are close to ones you already own, and if they are, then maybe you don't want to add them to your collection, or maybe you love them and you do want to add them. But either way, my goal is to help you make an informed decision. So let's dive in. We're going to go alphabetically through these polishes. Alright, so the first polish we're looking at today is Agnes. This is described as a muted blush, and so the first polishes that came to mind for me were 2 of the blushes that I kind of go for in Zoya's collection. And the first one is Piper. Piper is super different from Agnes. Piper is almost a little bit more like peachy pink. And then the other one that I thought of was Rue. Rue is a really popular shade from Zoya. They re-promoted it in the Bridal Bliss collection last year, and it is having a hot moment. Everybody loves it. And I think Rue compared to Agnes, Rue is much deeper. Rue is more of a mauve shade, so it's got a little bit more purple in it. It has almost a little bit more brown, it looks like here, compared to Agnes. And so I really see how Agnes is described as a muted color. The other one that I wanted to bring in was Carson, just because Carson is a recent release and it is a really warm toned nude. This is from the winter collection last year, from the Jubilee collection. And again, Agnes is so muted here, it's not even similar to any of these. However, I do organize my polishes by color order, and the polish that I saw that looked kind of similar to Agnes was Brittany, which is one of their satin polishes. The only difference really seemed to be the finish. They look pretty similar, but Agnes is, you know, obviously a glossy polish and Brittany is satin, and so I wanted to see what it might look like if I put a glossy top coat on it. So I'm gonna grab these 3 and bring them up close to us. All right, so on the top here is Brittany with a glossy top coat, 2 coats with a glossy top coat. In the middle is Agnes, and on the bottom is Brittany in just the kind of standard satin finish that comes out of the bottle. And I am gonna say these 3 are almost identical. I think Agnes is maybe just a touch more creamy, maybe. It's a little bit less pink, but just like a drop less pink. I am not unhappy to have Agnes in my collection. I think it's really pretty, but if you're not somebody who reaches for blush that often and you have Brittany, you might be able to pass on this one. So while we're up here, I do just want to talk about one more comparison. Agnes compared to April. April is described as a rosy nude, and April is definitely rosy. It's not like super taupey. It's not super, I don't know, creamy. It definitely has some pink to it when you compare it to some other nudes from Zoya, but Agnes is definitely much more blush. I would say Agnes is closer to Rue and some of the other ones we've looked at than it is to April. All right, before I move on, since these are the 2 kind of neutral polishes in this collection, I did just want to show you Agnes and Birch up close next to each other. They're super different. They're not just like a little bit different. You know, Birch is definitely much more purple. Agnes is a little bit more nude and muted. So these are definitely different, but because they are the 2 kind of lighter colors in this collection, I did just want to show you them up close to each other. All right, up next we're looking at Airy, and Airy is this really pretty kind of dusty periwinkle color. And I don't know about you, but as soon as I saw this one, I wanted to know how it compared to Danielle. And even just down here on the paper, you can see that Danielle has a little bit more purple and it's a little bit brighter. It's almost more of like a royal blue, whereas Airy definitely has that kind of dusty, muted color to it. And if we look at them up close, it becomes even more apparent how different these are. So Airy is definitely a bit more blue. I would say it is still blurple, it's still in between, but it's a bit more blue than Danielle is, and it's a little bit more grayed out, a little bit softer. It's not quite as bright. So these 2 are so pretty. I love Danielle. Love, 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 love. And I'm really excited to have Airy in my collection. I said in my live swatch and review that this is one of my favorites from this collection, and I'm so glad that Zoya is adding more blues because the world needs more blue nail polish. All right, up next is Birch, which Zoya describes as a grayed lavender. And this one, again, I thought for sure I've seen polishes like this in Zoya's collection. There are others that are similar. And so I tried to pull those. The first one that came to mind was Kendal. Kendal to me is a little bit more of a kind of brown undertone. It's not quite as purple and bright as Birch's. Birch definitely has more of a brighter kind of lavender purple. The other one that I thought of was Marley, which when I pulled it out is definitely way too purple. It's not even close to Birch. Birch is much pinker. And then I thought of Megan, and Megan again is a little bit more blue toned. It's a little bit more gray. It's not similar to Birch at all. And so I really actually don't think that I have any colors in my collection that are exactly like Birch. Birch looks pretty unique to me. It has this really beautiful, soft, lilac-y, lavendery pink undertone that is totally different from these other shades. So right, here is Yvette, and Zoya describes Yvette as a warm grape with a pink undertone, and I really like the description of this one as grape. I think it's really, really pretty, and I definitely see the pink undertone in here. This purple is super warm toned, and so I do have several that I think are similar. The first one that I want to pull out is mostly just because it's recent. This is Mauve. This is from the Element collection, and Mauve was also a really warm toned purple that was released last year. But you can see here that it is much deeper than Evette, much darker. It doesn't have quite the same brightness as Evette does. So this one's not really close, but I thought it would be helpful to see since many of you might have it in your collection because it is a recent addition. The other one that I thought of was Audrina, because Audrina is kind of a purpley toned pink, but this one has a much brighter pink undertone. You can see how much more purple is in Evette. And so the other ones that I wanted to pull out are Keiko and Lois, because both of these are warm toned purples that I thought might be a little bit similar. I'm gonna take out Audrina because that one is not helpful. If we look at these up close, you can see that Lois is definitely about a shade lighter. There's a little bit more white in Lois. It's a little bit brighter. I would say that Keiko and Yvette are the closest. So if we look at them really close to each other, I think that Keiko is just a touch more pink than Yvette, to be honest. Yvette is a little bit more purple. It is a hair deeper and darker and more kind of rich purple. I don't pull for this color often, and so if I was, you know, just trying to build a collection, not for comparison's sake, but just trying to build a collection of polishes that I would wear all the time, I would think that these two are a little bit too similar for me to need both, just because I don't pull for this color often. If you are someone who loves this warm toned purple, and I do think it looks really good on a lot of people, then maybe you want both, because, you know, Keiko is definitely a touch brighter, a touch pinker, but for me, these are pretty similar. All right, next up is Fern, and Fern is this really beautiful green gray shade that has a little bit of a gold pearl shimmer in here. I really like this warm pearl shimmer. The warmth is just really nice, and on the nail it just gives it a little bit of a sheen of warmth, which is really pretty. So Fern, to me, I thought was going to be closest to Sage, which is one of their satin polishes, because they describe it as a sage green. But when I look at these next to each other, I actually see a lot more of that kind of grayed out blue undertone. So Fern is definitely not quite as light and bright as Sage. When I realized how blue it was, I also thought that maybe it was similar to Bevan, but Bevan is a little bit brighter. It's not quite as gray. It doesn't have the same undertone as Fern. And somebody asked me how it compares to like Ireland, which is another kind of muted green shade, and it's really not as white. It has much deeper undertones. So Fern to me is pretty unique in the Zoya collection. The one polish that people commented it might be similar to when I posted my swatches was Skylar, and I actually don't have Skylar, so I'm gonna insert a swatch here, and to me it looks much bluer than Fern. I think they have similar shimmers, but it looks much bluer. So although I don't have Skylar, I don't think that they're quite dupes. I'm gonna do a quick bottle shot of Theo here, because if you haven't seen my live swatch and review, you just need to see this polish. I think Zoya did a really interesting finish with this one. It is unlike anything I've ever tried from them. In my live swatch, I talked a little bit about, you know, needing to manipulate it a little bit, because otherwise if I did too thick of a coat, the flakies kind of sunk in for me, and it was a little bit thick and a little bit hard to apply, but I put a wide brush in, I did 2 thin coats. I think the swatch on my swatch stick and the swatch that I ultimately got on my hands was really lovely. It's a really interesting polish, and I appreciate Zoya for branching out. This one obviously is super unique in their collection, and so I just tried to pull something that would give us an insight into the color in Theo. So I have Dahlia here, which is a black pixie dust. It dries down closer to this kind of gunmetal gray that Theo is, and so I thought that's an interesting comparison. They're similar in color. And then I also pulled Troy, which is a metallic gray that has a little bit of a blue undertone, and I think that it's a different blue than what's in Theo. The glitter in Theo is a little bit different. It's a little bit more royal blue. Okay, so here we are up close. You can see those flakies that are in Theo. They're really interesting. You can see the kind of blue shimmer in here, but definitely there are particles of glitter in Theo that you can see with your naked eye. They are round. They're not just a shimmer. To me, they look almost black, but I think they were really deep blue. And then there's those silver flakies, and then there's kind of a small blue micro shimmer. So Theo's really interesting. It's totally unique in Zoya's collection. So I think these four, if you're interested in any of these, Airy, Theo, Fern, or Birch, are 100% unique in Zoya's collection. I see nothing similar to them. Airy is a little bit similar to Danielle, but really they're very different polishes. So I really liked all four of these, and I think if you're looking to add some variety to your collection, you'd be really happy with these three, and this would be a really soft neutral to kind of carry you through the spring. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which polishes you're most excited to pick up. Zoya did just post that they are having a promotion where you can buy all 6 of these shades plus some other freebies for $60. And so that is linked in the description box down below. I will also link my live swatch and review down below if you want to keep learning about these polishes. And as always, thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending a couple minutes talking about nail polish. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!